Yu-Gi-Oh! Can be a hard game to get into mechanically, and for the most part it can be financially as well. Not everyone can afford playsets of the numerous $100 cards that are out there. But you already knew that, didn't you? Let's cut to the good stuff. 3 structure decks, $10 a week, 1 goal. Topping a Yu-Gi-Oh! Extravaganza. Can we do it with a deck considered to be rogue? This is Soul Burning on a Budget. Hello and welcome to week 3 of Soul Burning on a Budget. Last week we had an okay record of 1-1 and learned that I suck versus Prank Kids. This week I'm planning on not attending locals and dueling some friends with the deck instead, allowing me to get more practice with the deck and save the $5 I would have used to enter this week's tournament. That means that this week I have a $16.15 budget, considering last week I saved $1.15. But before I show you what I bought with this week's budget, I want to share something with you guys. I realized I hadn't shown you before what I'm working towards, and I want to fix that. Here's what the week 2 deck looks like, and here's what the deck should look like when I'm done with it. Honestly, most of the rest of the deck is affordable, so it won't take long to get a good majority of it bought. So, with that being said, let's see what I decide to spend that fat $16 budget on. Alright, so there's some pretty big changes coming to the deck today, thanks to our fat $16.15 budget. That being said, I'm not going to keep you waiting for it, so big stack of cards and slightly smaller stack of cards for the extra deck. So first up is Dino Wrestler Pankratops. This is a card that allows you to special summon itself if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, and it has a quick effect that you contribute itself for cost and target a card on the field to destroy it. It's limited to 1, so we can't play more of it, but if we just main deck this one, it will come up sometimes, and when it does, it's going to be really, really good. Next up for generic hand traps, I have 3 Skullmeister and 3 Effect Veiler. So Effect Veiler lets you discard it to target a monster in the field and negate its effects, and it's a quick effect, and this is only during our opponent's main phase. So it's just a very easy way to shut down anything that activates on field. It's pretty strong in this format. If you Effect Veiler a Rescue Cat, Trap-Good players have to have a very specific hand to play through it, so it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And Skullmeister is a quick effect to discard it and negate a graveyard effect. So both of these are very generically strong versus the meta right now, because everything activates in graveyard for the most part, and what doesn't, you can just cover it with the Effect Veiler. So yeah, that helps us slow down the game state a little bit. These are really strong budget options. There are other options like Lancia that I'm considering for the future. But these were just the most generic and powerful ones. So Flame Buffalo is a new normal summon for us. If it leaves the field, we could discard a Cyberse and draw 2. So we can go normal summon Flame Buffalo, link into Balinks, chain link 1 Buffalo, chain link 2 Balinks. So we could chain block the Buffalo and always get a guaranteed pot of greed. It's also very strong for getting extenders in grave. Like if we couldn't get Foxy or Jaguar in the grave otherwise, this helps us do that while also going like +1. So next up we have the 1 Abyss Dweller. I talked about this card last week. It's a quick effect to detach one, and then your opponent can't activate graveyard artifacts for that turn. So it's a floodgate that's actually really strong in this format. Next up we have the 1 Topologic Zeraboros. This is our new boss monster. It's got 3000 attack. It gains 200 attack for every banished monster, so it synergizes very well with Power Desires. And if a monster is special summoned to a zone a link monster points to, this is a mandatory effect to banish everything on the field. Then on the next standby phase, this comes back. So as you can see, it's a very easy way to wipe the board. It also can get really high levels if we have Power Desires. Say we just literally just use Power Desires, this goes up to 5,000. Like, it just gains so much off of so little. That being said, if we banish it off of its own effect, on the next standby phase, we could just put it right here. And then it points to both the extra monster zones. So if our opponent even tries to link summon, this will trigger and everything will get banished. So it's a very strong card to just like nuke the board very easily. Speaking of cards that are incredibly powerful that I wanted to show to you, here is 1 update jammer that I bought. It's basically a link 2 that takes 2 level 2 or higher Cyberse monsters, and whatever we link into using it can attack twice. So yeah, couple that with a very strong Zeraboros, it's a very easy way to OTK. Next up we have Splash Mage. This is a very basic link 2 that just takes 2 Cyberse monsters, and we could target a Cyberse monster in our grave, special summon it in defense. So it's a very easy way to like just link 2 Cyberse, make this, bring back 1, link 3, and then we just combo off from there and make Zeraboros. And last but not least, we have Transcode Talker. This is a Link 3 that takes 2+ effect monsters. While it's co-linked, whatever it's co-linked to and itself gain 500 attack and cannot be targeted by card effects. So this would go up to 28. The most common occurrence for this is if it's co-linked to Update Jammer or if it's co-linked to Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf. So usually this will go to 28 and Sunlight Wolf will go to 23, or if it's Update Jammer, that goes to 25. But then this has another effect that lets us target a Link 3 or lower Cyberse monster in the grave and special summon it to a zone this points to. So if you go Link into Transcode Talker using Update Jammer, activate Update Jammer's effect, use Transcode, bring back Update Jammer, put it under it, they're co-linked, and that's exactly 8,100 damage. So that's pretty strong. But mostly you want to just bring back the Update Jammer and then link 4 into Topologic Zeraboros. So, and then you trigger Update Jammer, so Zeraboros can attack twice. So if you couple Update Jammer with Zeraboros, you get a pretty beefy attack. And the last card I bought for this week's budget actually wasn't in the main or extra deck, it was for the side deck, 3 Twin Twisters. These were relatively cheap and I just had enough, and I knew we were going to need back row removal sooner or later. I chose Twin Twisters over something like Cosmic Cyclone because we always have cards in hand that I want to discard. Like if I have a Jack Jaguar that's just dead in my hand, I could just use this to discard it. So that's generically powerful. It also pops 2 Speller Traps on the field. I have no idea why I didn't say that sooner. But yeah, a very strong piece of back row removal. It's not Harpy's Feather Duster or anything, but that's a little more expensive. So yeah. So that about wraps up what I bought with this week's budget. It's a lot of standard cards you see in Salamangreat builds. Bar the hand traps, those are usually just, whatever good for the format. But yeah, this is a great start, a very good progression towards what we need for our final build. And yeah, I'm actually very happy with it. So on to the deck profile. So this is the list I'm working with this week. For week 3, this is incredible as the only thing I'm truly missing is Signet Mining and Access Code Talker. Everything else is format dependent like hand traps and side deck cards. Speaking of which, the actual core of what we're working with for going first isn't that big, so we can afford to play 10 going second cards in the list currently. That being said, Signet Mining is a $7 card and I'm planning on picking it up in the following weeks. But for now, it's time to hit up some friends and play some games. Okay, so first up, I'm playing against my friend Carter, who's playing Earth Machines. And I'll admit it, I barely know what's going on in this matchup, but luckily for me, Carter got a bad hand. He activates Machina Redeployment, which adds 2, so I ash it, and from there he just sets 1 to pass. From here, I'm able to just combo off for the most part. You can see me have a Baylynx, I activate Peril Exceed, I get a Gazelle on field, and for the most part, I'm doing fine. And I'm really scared of the back row, so I keep asking Carter, like, yo, do you have a response to this? Do you have a response to the summon? I really think it's Solemn Strike, because that's really good in this format. So I get to a Mirage Stalio, and it gets ashed. So from there, my only real option is actually, like, link climbing into Transcode to try to OTK Carter. So I go into Update Jammer, I go into Transcode. Transcode's effect to bring back the Update Jammer gets ashed, and in the battle phase, Carter activates Urgent Scheduling to get out 2 Earth Machines. And fortunately for me, Carter's top deck wasn't that great, so when I pass it back to him, he simply passes it back to me. So knowing he doesn't really have anything, I just bring back the Update Jammer and comfortably sitting on the Abyss Dweller for next turn, I go to the battle phase, and I believe I leave him around 2,300 life points left, so I pass it back to him. He normal summons Machina Metal Cruncher, which I effect Veiler, which actually boosted it back to 2,800, but it ultimately didn't matter as next turn I had Lethal on board. So we just go to game 2. It was really unfortunate that I just had like all the interruptions that I needed to like actually just stop Carter and outgrind him in the entirety. But yeah, on to game 2. So I did side in Twin Twisters, and I believe I sided in the Kaiju as well. If I did side in the Kaiju, I just didn't see it. I didn't see it going back over this replay. But unfortunately, I don't know much about this matchup. All I know is that you should probably hit the normal summon. That being said, I didn't see a disruption to hit the normal summon, so Carter's just gonna combo off like a ton. And I do have a singular Skullmeister, which I use against the Pot of Avarice effect. But luckily for me, all Carter did was end on Cleafort Genius and 2 back row. One of which being Machina Overdrive, which destroys a machine monster on your field, a special summon a Machina monster from deck. Unluckily for me, the Cleavefort Genius is unaffected by the activated effects of other Link monsters and spells and traps on the field, so he just like gets free advantage because it can't be destroyed. But yeah, I want to take this time to really like talk about how this game is going, because I don't really know what their deck does. So I just want to say that like they're out resourcing me constantly on every turn. I have to use a lot of resources to get rid of the problems that they're presenting me with, and eventually I just get like out resourced and killed. It turns into a top deck war of like, oh, is this one card I'm top decking is going to save me every time I draw? And eventually it just doesn't. But I do like this deck. I don't say all these things just to like bash the deck. I think it's a very unique deck, and I like that Yu-Gi-Oh has become, you know, very diverse in these past few formats. I know, like, you know, you can see a lot of like samey decks like Dragon Links and Sky Strikers, but I really do enjoy seeing like what unique like things deck like Earth Machine do. But all that being said, I do think our list is pretty like cohesive and actually like runs properly and fine. There's just like a lack of like proper side deck cards. Say for example, if I had like Rivalry of Warlords or TC Boo, there could only be one. I feel like it would have just shut down the plays, and they would have had like a way to pop that to really continue, and therefore we could have like won in the grind. But I don't think TC Boo actually would have been like great. Rivalry, we could have just like hit them and a certain Link monster at some point to really like shut down their plays, I think. That being said, we're going to game 3 now. I'll be honest with you, I kind of did Carter dirty this game. I had like literally everything I needed. Basically, I just had one Rage in hand, even though like my setup wasn't great. I got lucky, I had Rage in hand and a Skullmeister in hand. And that was just enough to like make them pass their turn after I get everything set up. That being said, I also like keep top decking into like hand traps like Ash, and I just like never give Carter a way to actually play the game and really pop off. But again, I really do want to mention that like this is what the deck's supposed to do. You're supposed to have enough like disruptions through hand traps and maybe a set to really just like not let your opponent play the game at all. You really would just want to do this on every single one of your turns. You want to, you know, like keep getting back the Rage, get those 2 pops, or the Roar, whichever one. And that's exactly what I do. I outgrind Carter for the entire match. It's exactly what Salamangreats want to do, and while I don't do it the most efficiently in most games, I'm doing it in this game. It's we're getting closer and closer to like what I want the deck to do, and it makes me really happy. But yeah, Carter just like, he's running out of steam. He has a Phantasma in hand, which will help him, but not really like ultimately, just like it does nothing because he doesn't draw into exactly what he needs. Which would probably just be Nibiru at this point. But since he doesn't have the Nibiru, it's simply like, it got to the point where I'm just able to snowball back everything I really need. I'm able to put back the Phantasma in their hand using Mirage Salio's like Graveyard effect as it's like used for Link material. Which, you know, usually isn't ideal, but I'm planning on killing him, even though I'm like short of lethal in this scenario. Just luckily for me, they don't have anything on a following turn to like really do anything, so I poked them for game afterwards, and it was a good set. I mean, I really enjoyed playing against Carter. Carter's a cool guy, and I really enjoyed playing Yu-Gi-Oh with my friends. So yeah, good games to Carter. Okay, for the next match, I'm playing against my friend Lane, and as soon as we sit down and see our hands, he hits me with this.
Okay, go ahead. I'll be real with you. I kind of got the going second god hand.
If this dude drops the bureau on me, I'm going to shit bricks. But yeah, to continue the match, I do get to a pretty decent board. I have the Exceed in hand, and it gets ashed on the second effect. I use Pot of Desires, and I actually do draw into playable. I use Will to bring back the Foxy, and I start link climbing. I get to a board of Sunlight Wolf co-linked to a Transcode Talker under it, and the biggest misplay I make of the entire match, the reason I lose the entire match, is I bring back Splash Mage with Transcode Talker. That's because they're on Tri-Zoo, and they make a Borbo, and I effectively live the Borbo, but they just overlay into Tiger Mortar to battle over the Splash Mage, which, if anything, they had anything else, like, if I didn't bring back the Splash Mage, they couldn't have battled into anything to beat over it. And so me bringing back the Splash Mage essentially lost me game 1 here because they make Zeus. And we don't have outs to Zeus. I'll be honest with you, we don't have outs to Zeus. So, yeah, Lane just, he makes a big board and I can't out it, so I have to scoop him up and go to game 2. And that's entirely on me. Just bringing back the Splash Mage was the worst decision I made in the entirety of this, in the entirety of the match. Though I do want to say I do like Tri Brigade. I would honestly be playing it if it wasn't like as expensive as it is. And honestly, it's a really good budget deck per se. Like, you know, everyone always talks about like $100 to 150 is a good like starting point for Yu-Gi-Oh. And you can really pick that deck up for around that price range, which is nice. But I didn't open great for game 2. I opened the field spell, sadly, and I think I just end on, I just end on a Sunlight Wolf. That's it. I do have the hand traps I need to just like slow their turn down. I Ash the Fractal, and when they activate the Tri Brigade effect, like banishing for cost, I effect Valor it. And after all of that was done, I didn't really have much in my hand, so for turn, I top deck another Jack Jaguar. And so that's like really bad in this situation. Luckily for me, the only disruption the lane had was like a Shurag, and they used the banish on the Will of the Salamangreat for some reason, instead of the Heat Leo that I link climbed into. And luckily for me, I go to the battle phase, and before I do, he's like, oh, how many summons was that? And I'm scared out of my mind that he has Nibiru. But it was 4 summons, luckily for me, so I beat over their board. It was really funny, because I think earlier in this recording, they showed the Nibiru to the camera, and I'm just sitting here like, oh my god, I really hope this, I hope that doesn't come up. Even then, I don't think it mattered, because after that, I had no steam in the tank. I had no, like, steam in the tank? What the hell am I talking about? I had no gas in the tank. I had no disruptions, and they just combo off and they kill me. I can't come back from it. Unfortunately, I recorded some games with my friend Arum for the 3rd duel for this episode, and it got fucking corrupted. And that's all I really have to say on the matter. GG's to Arum. They beat me with Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon, and I'm pretty sure it was just a swift like 0-2. On to game 4, I guess. You know you drew well when your end board in a combo deck is this. Go ahead.
I'm shitting myself right now.
So, game 4, I'm playing against my buddy Sam, and, well, we bricked on the game 1. I activate Pod Desires, gets ashed, and I just set 3 pass. I do have disruptions. One of them is Call By, and another one's Ash, but they combo off anyways, just because they have the, like, necessary cards to do so, really. But you're gonna see here, like, they poke me for some damage, sure, and they pass it back to me, and you're gonna see that Pod Desires is one of my sets. You know, we really bricked so hard. We got 2 Pod Desires. It is what it is. But I can't end on anything crazy anyways. I just link it to a Balinx with a Buffalo, set another card, and pass. And they just, like, they're snowballing stuff onto the field. Now they have a Toad. My back row's probably not gonna do anything. And there is a point where I'm just sitting here like, you know what, they have so much on field, I'm probably just gonna die to this. I'm just gonna have to scoop this up and go to game 2. Okay, but game 2, we're really popping off, and I mean we really pop off and show like the potential of what this deck can do. So okay, you're gonna see me not only go into Balinx with Buffalo to draw the 2 and pitching Foxy of all things, but you're gonna see me Pero Exceed for a Dweller. And then I actually end on the standard board of like Rage set, or not Rage, Roar set, Abyss Dweller, which shuts down all of their Prank Kids effects in Graveyard for that turn. It's just like, it's a very great setup, and I really feel like I'm happy with how the deck's progressed. We should be able to do this most games, if not every other game. But that being said, they do wipe our board with the big Bow Butler, and knowing that they have another tribute for Bow Butler, I use Gazelle to set up Mole in the graveyard to shuffle back 5 and draw 2, which gets me to Circle of all things. So I'm actually looking a little cracked right now. I set 2 Rage. Yeah, I set 2 Rage and pass. Unluckily for me, the Rage only really got rid of like one of their Link monsters, I think, on their turn. They could still set up a Dweller, so I set 1. So I just wanted to die on the next turn, and then on their turn I got rid of the Dweller. And then when they try to Link Climb again, they put up a Exceed, and I Valor the Exceed, which is funny as hell, because it just shuts it down and makes it a level 8 again. But on our turn, I use Mirage Stalio to get out a Falco, and I just start to like use our extenders to really Link Climb into a Sunlight Wolf. I relinked the Sunlight Wolf, it gets impermed, and from there I'm just like, you know what, I'm just gonna go into I'm just gonna link climb into a Topologic Zeraboros, take out the link monster, and hope that's enough for this turn. Sadly, it wasn't. They're able to link climb into an Axis Code Talker, and that just simply seals the deal. I mean, he kills us with Axis Code Talker. We were already low on life points. It clears the only monster on the board, and he just swings for game. So big shout outs to Sam. He's a great friend of mine. And yeah. Okay, honestly, I really like the direction the deck is going. It's steady progress, even if the win rate isn't reflecting that right now. We still need Sign of Minings. Obviously, we need Axis Code, but you know, maybe we won't even get that for the series. The tins are being delayed a lot. It comes out October 1st now. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to let me know in the comments what you liked and disliked. Be sure to like the video and, you know, share it with some friends. I work really hard in these videos, and your support means a lot to me. That being said, I'll see you guys next week with a brand new episode of Soul Burning on a Budget. See ya!